Hey guys, you're here with another video for Blender. This one's gonna be about UV unwrapping. We're gonna be talking about ZEN UV add-on, which is the ultimate add-on for this purpose. Now ZEN UV works in tandem with UV Packmaster Pro 2. So if you want the best algorithm for unpacking, I suggest you get UV Packmaster 2 as well. ZEN UV actually allows you to use the algorithm, and I'm gonna talk about it in a while. Now, ZEN UV was created by people who are into gaming industry, and that's how they make their living. They're just simply professional game artists, and the lead developer over there is Sergey Tyapkin, who's a phenomenal artist. You can see his art on ArtStation. I think he's extremely talented. And they needed a tool to get the job done as quickly as possible and also as efficiently as possible, and that's ZEN UV. So if you are into game assets and this is your thing and you're gonna be doing it on a daily basis, or you just don't really like UV unwrapping and you find it boring, ZEN UV is probably for you, because let me tell you, this add-on is amazing. Now, this add-on was also used by me in the course, in the Result Game Asset course by Blender Bros. I was using ZEN UV and UV Packmaster 2. Granted, I was using ZEN UV only to talk about TD, so textile density, which we're gonna be talking about a bit later today. But it's a bit like using Ferrari to go to get some eggs in a grocery shop, because ZEN UV is an extremely powerful add-on. I just wanted to do it justice and talk about it in depth today. Now, links to the add-on to Blender Market and Gumroad stores are in the video description, so if you want to grab that add-on, hop on the links, the affiliate links. So if you go through the links, you're gonna help me as well, which is greatly appreciated. Now let me tell you how to use this thing, because a lot of people actually misuse this, and people can't be factory documentation, that includes me. So I was lucky enough to have 2 hours plus with Sergey, and he explained me everything. So I was blown the hell away, because when I saw the potential, I was like, dude, that shit is off the charts. Probably not gonna be discussing everything because it's just too much, but I will tell you how to use it to literally its full potential, and I'll tell you about other features that are a bit more advanced that, like I said, we're not going to be discussing today. For example, from the top you got advanced UV maps, which is basically for dual UV channels or multiple UV channels. So if you into that kind of thing, this is for you. Second option here would be for seam groups, which is a bit like vertex groups. So you could create seam groups and sort of select groups of seams with one click, which is extremely convenient for more complex projects. We don't need this in here because just simple items. By the way, it's a ZEN UV add-on mascot, which I received from Sergey to demonstrate the add-on. So we don't really need that here, but you have this option, which I think is phenomenal. It's a bit like the vertex group option in Mesh Machine, when you can transfer UVs, or like I said, vertex groups here in Blender. So similar stuff, right? These actually are the main windows. So you got the unwrap, the select, pack, checker, and textile density. These are really important, and you're gonna spend majority of your time here. In addition to all this, you have a pie menu. So if you're not into menus like this, you can use pie menu, which is Alt U by default. I remapped it to Alt Q, and you got a pie menu from ZEN UV. So you can use it, if you want to. You got quadrification, unwrapping, isolation, marking, all the most important tools here, which I think is bloody brilliant. Also, just like in Hardobs or Box Cutter or other add-ons, you can access the sub menu by simply clicking Alt, Control, or whatever. If you hover over the menu, it will tell you what other options you have here. So for example, if you want to unwrap and pack at the same time, you simply click on ZEN UV unwrap with Alt, and this is what's going to happen. And some of these menus simply offer you additional options, so have a look at that one, right? You can change the key maps here, so there's direct access to your preferences, which I think is very convenient. In addition to all this, you got Hardobs integration, which basically makes this UV window here redundant, because if I'll show you this in a minute, there's gonna be like a window popping up in here, So let me just show you on a very simple cube, because I don't want to actually mess up this model at the moment. Let me turn off this gizmo here. So if I'm going to have this option selected at the HardOps UV display, if I'm going to go to Alt Q and ZEN UV Unwrap, you see that we actually have, as the same window being displayed here. So this unwrap window, right? So you don't really need this, meaning you have more space, more real estate to actually work on your object. And ZEN UV, unlike most of the UV related add-ons, works not only just in end panel in the UV window, but also in the end panel on the main window. And that's that's really important, because like I said, especially now with this HardOps integration, you really don't need this thing here, so you can just work in this window here, right? But again, we're gonna be using that window here because it's gonna be a bit easier to see for people who are just getting into this UV unwrapping malarkey. Yeah? So to start unwrapping, what you need to do is select an object and go to edit mode, which will basically display more options in here. You can see that it switches between solid and edit mode. Also, you might want to go to UV editing window here, so switch from layout to UV editing, and it will display here automatically a UV editing window. You can resize it here if you want to. It's a bit too crazy, so we want a more real estate in here. And let's go back to ZEN UV. And now how to work this magic, right? So that let's talk about it. So first of all, we're going to mark seams. Now, how do you mark seams? The easiest way to mark seams in hard surface, right, is by marking them by angle. And you have this option here, and it's similar to what HardOps does. So when you go to Control tilde menu is HardOps, you can select what type of edges you want to apply to all edges that are actually above 30 degrees, right? So this is very similar. You can simply mark by angle, and you can choose if you want to mark seams only, or sharps, or just sharps only. I don't need sharps, so I'm going to uncheck it. I'm going to just simply mark only seams. So mark by angle, boom. Now let me show you how to unwrap with ZEN UV Unwrap. Now if you're gonna select everything and Alt go to Point menu and Alt click on ZEN UV Unwrap, which is basically unwrap and pack, you'll see you're gonna end up with a mosaic of a mess, because every single island is unpacked separately. Now in this situation, I don't want sharp edges, so I want only edges that are actually sharp by angle, and then I'm going to simply click ZEN UV Unwrap. And now you can see that UV Unwrap is completely different. It's still not ideal, but it's completely different, and now we're gonna be using other tools to actually fix that. Okay, so we got our mesh unwrapped, and now we need to fix several problems. So for example, you can see here that we have overlapping islands, meaning we got overlapping faces on top of other faces. That's not ideal, and that usually indicates that we have some kind of a problem with seams. We need to fix it, usually on cylinders, like circular elements, right? So it's a little bit difficult to find these things, but with ZEN UV it's really easy, because you can do is simply, you can select them by overlapping islands. Where was it? Select overlapped islands, boom. And it's going to highlight all the islands that are overlapping. Another very cool option here is that once you select it, you can isolate these islands to work on them. So boom, isolate toggle, kind of like the Control F button in machine tools, right? Kind of like a local mode. Now we can see what the problem is. The problem is that, Blender unwraps everything and stretches it because there's no seams on the bottom, right? Or where you just, going across the cylinder. It's a cylindrical form, so to unwrap it, you need at least one cut on, at some point, right? So let's mark them, right? And simply ZEN UV Unwrap. And that's what you're gonna get. Now we're still probably gonna have to, separate this one, so we can, simply click on this edge and let's select this island, mark it, ZEN UV Unwrap, and boom. And now we're gonna have to quadrify some islands, right? So let's go back to the main view. So we're gonna go to isolate islands toggle, and now we're going to quadrify islands. Okay, so let me just pack this very quickly. Right, there we go. This one, this one, this one, and this one. They all need quadrification, right? So select these and literally press quadrify, and you're done. right? Then select everything and pack islands. Now let's talk about the side here, because you can see that, you know, this side here is a little bit of a mess. We don't need these seams because they just simply create all these. When I select everything here, all this Z, you see they're all in separate spots, which is not really ideal because you don't need seams in here. So all you really need to do is simply click ZEN Unwrap, which we're gonna merge it together, which is fantastic. You know, I'm gonna do the same thing here. You can mirror this, but you know, boom, right, and sort it, which is great. Same here, you know, ZEN Unwrap. And now the cool thing about this add-on is that you can sort of sort islands by complete and incomplete. So let's say I'm gonna select these, right? This one, and well, let's say this one, right? Or maybe not this one. Yeah, these two, right? And I'm gonna click select islands, okay? So where was it? Select islands, right? And I'm gonna tag them as finished. What ZEN UV will do, it will move them to the right side out of the Zen out of the UV space, and they will not be, you know, messed with, which is fantastic because it allows you to kind of visually distinguish between, you know, finished and unfinished. Now, even better than that, you can display finished toggle, which will display colors, which you can, by the way, change here and show you visually in your display in a viewport which islands are finished and which ones aren't finished. So that's fantastic as well. And you can of course, you know, toggle it off. So toggle, right? Now let's talk about the about checker a little bit. This one is related to TD, which is textile density. So let's maybe pack these islands a little bit. I'm not gonna be doing the proper packing because, you know, I would need to spend some time actually UV unwrapping this, but it's not the point of this video. Let me just quadrify them really quickly here. So quadrify and pack them again. Boom, right? So let's talk about textile density. Now, textile density options are here, and they're really important. Also, you have the built-in checker textures, which you can change on the fly, which is fantastic. So you can select different types of checker textures. You can load your own. You can select different sizes of them, depending on what kind of resolution you're working on. So let's say we're working in 4K, so we want 4K resolution TD textures, right? And now how to work this thing. Let's say you're gonna get a specific TD from your, you know, from the studio you're working for. Let's say you're gonna get, you know, I don't know, let's say 250, okay? That's your TD. So you need to set that TD to a specific island. So let's select an island, right? And then set TD, which will, you see, resize these squares to a proper textile density, meaning texture resolution. And now I need to set that TD to the entire model. So I'm going to select everything and set TD. And this will scale up or scale down my islands accordingly, okay? So let's pack our islands, all right? So let's pack them. And let's see how we're looking. Now here what you can do, you can actually set your TD to 50, right? Because it's our target TD, and you can actually see whether you're, you know, over or below the limit. So if I'm going to click on refresh TD, you see that my model color has changed. What does it mean? It means that you need to look at the scale here. If you're in the middle section here, you're equal to the TD value that you specified. If you're going towards the red zone, which is not really good because it means your resolution is, you know, is getting smaller and smaller, so the texture is going to be more blurry and blurry. You're getting into the red zone, meaning your textile density is actually lower than what you set in here. So you basically, what you need to do is you need to scale some islands up or down, and maybe you know, fix a little bit of the arrangement of islands. So we would need to work on this a little bit more to make it a bit more efficient, possibly overlay some islands if you wanted to. And, you know, you can use other tools for this if you want to. For instance, you know, these two islands, right? They're identical. You could technically overlap them, you know, on top of one another, and I think it will be fine. because you can't see both at the same time, right? So, you know, this would probably save a lot of space, but, you know, that's a little bit outside the scope of this video. That's how you do it, basically, right? Now, you can toggle this texture on and off if you want to. If it doesn't work, you probably need to purge some orphan data. I've noticed that there was some issues with this one. So, if it doesn't work for you, maybe some orphan data isn't, you know, is been displayed here, so we might want to remove this. But basically, you can toggle the texture on and off here. You can also remove the texture nodes very easily, so if you don't want to see it, you know, you can remove it. There is some problem with the orphan data, which is why it's still displaying. I think, let me just get rid of these. There you go. And let me just go very quickly to shader editor and remove this texture here manually. There you go. I think now it should work properly. So viewport, and let me just see that. There you go. Toggle on and off. So if you have a problem like that, just remove your orphan data. It's probably some Blender is messing things up as usual. Anyway, this section here is really cool. It's very compact, but it's very powerful. What it allows you to do is allows you to manipulate with islands, and I'm just gonna show you a few examples because it's just way too much to talk about. But let's just grab these islands and we're gonna isolate them. So we're gonna isolate them to see them a little bit better, right? And I'm going to go back to this alignment tool. The first one is basically move. So you can move the islands by increments, right? And you can set your options, you know, your options in here. You can scale the islands here, so you can scale them, you know, in this window if you want to. There's a rotation, so you can rotate them by increments as well. Now, rotation is fantastic because watch this. You can actually rotate them according to the edges, which is brilliant. And this is very useful for combating aliasing, because when you have, you know, diagonal islands like this, you're gonna end up with some aliasing on lower resolution normal maps. So you might wanna, you know, use this tool for this one. It's actually fantastic, especially for edges that are running at odd angles. So brilliant tool. And then we have, what's next? It's a flip, so you can, you know, flip your islands. It's kind of like a mirror thing. This flip option could be very useful for example, fixing this issue here. So let me select these and ZEN UV unwrap, and then let me select these, right? And ZEN UV unwrap, and did it work the way I wanted to? Wait a minute, not really. Hang on. Select these and these, and ZEN UV unwrap, right? So we got these two Z's, and let's select them. So select islands and let's isolate them. And if I'm going to now select the island and I'm gonna go to flip tool, which was here, right? I can flip this island and now I can align these two. So select both, then, whoa, what is it here? Then select islands, and then I'm gonna go to align, which is here, and boom, and you got aligned islands. You see what I mean? So now, you know, and then when you pack in them, right? So when you pack in them, if you're gonna use the regular pack, that's a bad idea, because it's gonna, you know, sort of split them. But in a UV pack master, I'm not sure if ZEN UV has it actually. So Sergey, if you're watching it, let me know. But in UV pack master, what you can do is you can lock overlapping islands, right? So if you go to advanced options, you can lock overlapping, and then when you pack it, boom, see, you're getting these two islands packed on top of one another, and that's gonna save you a shit ton of space. You got some problem here where we can fix this, but you know what I mean. So that's how you use this tool. It's brilliant. This is brilliant, you know, because overlapping manually is a pain in fucking ass. Then you have here, you have fit, so you can fit islands. This one is cool when you're working, for example, on, you know, let's say textures that are actually not squared, but they, for example, you know, 4x1, so like 4K by 1K. So you can fit the islands, with, you know, whichever way you want, which is fantastic for working on, for example, you know, stuff like buildings and, you know, or roads, or something that's actually very, very large in scale. All right. Now let's go out of this isolation mode, and let's, for example, grab some different faces. Let's grab these faces, okay, so here, and let's actually isolate them again. Whoa, wait a minute, wrong key. That's the one. Isolate them again, select them all, and we're going to pack them. So sort of pack them, you know. So you can use this one, this tool for aligning. So you can align them together, right? Depending how you want to align them. You could align them to a corner, to the middle, to left top corner, etc. So this is really useful when you, for example, using you know, procedural textures which don't really have any details, like BSDF or like textures from Unreal Engine. And you don't really give a shit if the islands are overlapping, because there's no, you know, they're seamless anyway, so you can save a lot of space on your UV grid by doing that, you know, by simply aligning islands like this. So it's a very useful tool. And this one actually is a 2D cursor transform tool. So this is, in a nutshell, all about ZEN UV that you should know for the beginning. Play with the options, they're fantastic. Last thing I'm going to talk to you about is actually this margin, which is quite important. Margin is set in pixels, but you can change it if you want to, which is a bit more intuitive. And that's really important because let's say if you pack it in the 4K, you probably want to go with something around 16 pixels. And this will simply allow you to create margin between islands when you're packing them, right? The same thing is in Blender, the same thing is in UV Pack Master 2. And it's very important because you don't want any bleeding, you know, on textures. Especially it could be visible in game engine view when viewed from a distance. So, you know, this is very important feature, and it's included in here as well. Which is brilliant. And also UV coverage is also important. It shows you how much space you're basically wasting. You want to be in the range of 80% plus, which means this unwrap is shit, so we need to work on it a little bit more to, you know, to make it a bit more efficient. Probably overlapping some islands, so maybe packing them a little bit better. So we will need to work on this one a bit more, yeah. But you know, this is very useful because it shows you, you know, how efficient you are with your space. And remember, the more efficient you are, the higher texel density you're gonna have, means the higher texture resolution is gonna be, meaning you can use lower texture resolution in games. Instead of going 4K, you can go 2K if you can pack your islands, you know, very efficiently. Yeah. So anyway, guys, that's it for this video. I think this should cover all the most important features of you know, ZEN UV. The add-on is absolutely sensational and it's been updated constantly. They just dropped a release quite recently, which was brilliant. And it's actually the recent addition was added a bit more features to this menu, to the packer menu, which allow you to actually set texture resolution, which is fantastic. And you can, you know, turn an on and off rotation of islands, which is also important because sometimes you don't want some islands to be rotated. So this is, you know, this is a very powerful tool. And like I said, we use it in our course, in our game asset course, which is still available at 20% discount. It's an early bird discount. You can get it on Gumroad, Blender Market, and our website blenderbros.com. We, by the way, enabled streaming on Gumroad and also downloading on our website, so you can either stream or download on Gumroad and blenderbros.com, and you can download the course from blendermarket.com. So that's your choice. A link to ZEN UV in the video description, so if you need that add-on, and I think if you are into unwrapping or you will be into unwrapping, you should definitely get it, because I think this add-on is just brilliant. Now, the last but not least is the HardOps integration, which means that you don't really need to, you know, worry much about UV window, because you're gonna get it displayed in here, so you have more real estate to work with, which is bloody amazing. So anyway, links to HardOps and Box Cutter in the video description as well. Grab them as a bundle. This is probably the most important package for you as a hard surface modeler. So if you want to be efficient and move quickly and ferociously, HardOps and Box Cutter are probably your best bet. Thanks for watching, guys. Catch you next video.